Something that's become one of the most polarizing topics among Miami Hurricanes football fans, the great stadium debate. Does the Miami football team, do they need their own stadium or staying at Hard Rock? Do they have to do that? Let's weigh in on this episode.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I am Alex Dono, your host. I'm a University of Miami alumnus, longtime South Florida sports radio vet, including pregame and postgame for Miami Hurricanes football. And thank you so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen every day, especially on a Saturday. We're hitting you with weekend programming, my friends. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts and available free on YouTube. Just try to be nice in the comments today, because I never thought a stadium would become so polarizing, but it has. And I thought to add some great perspective on this topic, let's bring on not only a talented journalist who's rising through those ranks, but he's also a current University of Miami student. Luke Cheney joins us, who's part of the brand new team on the All Hurricanes website. That's a Sports Illustrated website. We talked to our good pal John Garcia about this. It just came out this month. Luke, welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
What's going on, man? I am doing very well. It's a nice Friday. How are you, man? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. It's always great to be a Miami Hurricane, but especially when we've had an off season like this, it's just what a time to be alive. And one of the things that people are talking about, and obviously this wouldn't be any time real soon, but in order to just bring the game day experience of Miami football to another level, a lot of people have been talking about the Hurricanes eventually getting out of that Hard Rock Stadium lease and moving into their own stadium. And a big backer for this, because he's been talking about it basically nonstop going back to January, is Mr. NIL, John Ruiz, CEO of LifeWallet. I even saw him. He tweeted out on Thursday, I think it was Thursday night, that they're going to be dropping new stadium designs in August. He's excited about it. A lot of Hurricanes fans are excited about getting their own football stadium, because that's always something people talk about, college football. You know, it wouldn't be an on-campus stadium, but a much nearer by to campus stadium, maybe Tropical Park. But Luke, another thing that I found is a lot of folks get really angry about this. And be nice to us. Like, don't flood our mentions with all this hate, because I find a lot of people either and I understand it, because, you know, Miami, it's really a team for the city. Like, it's not a college town. It's not like Madison, Wisconsin or something where everybody's like focused in that area. There are so many great Canes fans, North Broward, Palm Beach County. I know some people who drive down from Orlando for a handful of games per year. And listen, Hard Rock Stadium, it's easier to get to than the Coral Gables area. So that's one thing. And then another thing is, Hard Rock Stadium's really nice, right? I mean, they're going to be hosting World Cup games there in a few years. They've hosted so many Super Bowls. So this stadium topic, it really pulls people apart. But I wanted to get your perspective, Luke, as a current student. Do you think that down the road, and this may not even happen while you're still attending the school, but do you think having a football-specific stadium a few miles away from campus, you think that's something that would benefit just the student body?
I think from the perspective of the student body, I mean, like myself, yeah, I mean, because it's something that likely wouldn't be built for, many years down the road. I won't be in college. I mean, I'm graduating May 2025, so I'll be out of college by the time it's built, if if it is built. Personally, I that would be tremendous, just because I mean, I was born in '03. I've been going to Cane games my whole life, but I never experienced the Orange Bowl.
Oh man, yeah.
Because the Orange Bowl, the last game in the Orange Bowl was '07, right?
'07. That's right. I was there, and it was a horrible game. That
Yeah,
Virginia, there was
no,
like
yeah,
46-0 or something. It was 48-0. It was awful.
yeah. I mean, like my first Canes game was the. How's actually kind of funny. My last Canes game was the game that got Randy Shannon fired, the USF home game. So that was my first Canes game. That was 3 years post Orange Bowl. So I never really got to experience that South Miami stadium for the Hurricanes. I I love Hard Rock. I've been going there my whole life. My family has been season ticket holders their entire life. So I mean, like during football season, it felt like Hard Rock was a second home to a point. I mean, I loved being there, but I don't really. I wouldn't say I have that, I guess, emotional connection to the stadium. I don't feel super strongly in favor of Hard Rock. And I can't. I just the prospect of a new stadium for me personally would. It's just so intriguing, and it's something that if it could happen, I mean, like, why not? Well, there's many reasons why not logistically, but from a personal perspective, I mean, I would love to see it. You mentioned, I guess, like the student body wise. I think it, and we're just going to use, I guess, football for example. I think it would lead to, I think, more enthusiasm for the student body wanting to go to football games, just because. I mean, I try, but for Miami students, there's the infamous bus ride to Canes games. That
Yeah, it was a metro. When I was there, it was a metro rail ride, and now it's a
okay.
bus ride. Yeah.
Oh, how long was the Metro Rail ride from?
Well, that was to get to
Oh,
the
it's a
Orange
Orange
Bowl,
Bowl.
and it was, yeah. So it was a weird thing. Like, it wasn't a long Metro Rail ride. I don't know, like 10 minutes or something. But then,
Okay.
like, the Metro Rail station, it was Culver Station, and like it wasn't. It was several blocks away from the Orange Bowl, so you would either just have to walk a long ways, or they did have buses that would take you from the monorail station to the Orange Bowl. So usually, what happened was, Luke, you'd get, because people arrive at the game tailgating all sorts of different times, so you'd get off the monorail, get on the bus, but then after the games were over, the line to get on the monorail at the end would be insane, or the line to get on the buses at the end would be insane, so you would just have to walk back to the monorail station most of the time. But yeah, it was but back in my day, we were all over that monorail, or the metro
Yes.
rail, I guess you call it.
So I mean, we have the buses that come and take students to games, and I mean, this is a good 45-minute bus ride depending on traffic.
Wow.
Um, and I mean, yeah, it's a lot, and it's leads to, I mean, some students not wanting to go to the games, and I mean, to a point, I get it. I mean, it's especially like a Thursday night game, asking a student to take including rush hour, like probably an hour 20-minute long bus ride there and back for a game is a lot to ask for. But the thing is, I don't think that the student body. I think it's really hard, no matter where the stadium is, to really get that enthusiastic or that electric and enthusiastic student atmosphere that you see at Penn State or Wisconsin or Michigan, just because Miami is a private school and a majority of the kids who attend Miami aren't from the South Florida area.
Right, and a lot of internationals too.
Exactly. Like, I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. I literally only met like 4 kids from Fort Lauderdale.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've met a lot more from like the Miami area,
Yeah.
but I'm sure you can attest to this. Most of the kids I've met are from the Northeast,
A lot of
from
them.
New York
Yep.
and New Jersey. And the difference is with Miami and, let's say, UGA, for example, Georgia, because they're a state school, they're required to take a certain percent of in-state kids. I know at UNC, UNC. I mean, UNC is a very hard school to get into, and it's even harder for out-of-state kids because they're required to take, I think, something like 81% of the admitted students must be from North Carolina. And I imagine it's a similar stat for the state schools here in Florida, such as UF and FSU. And like I said, with UGA, for example, a majority of the kids who go to school, they grew up Bulldogs. They grew up
Mm,
Georgia football fans. So it's a natural transition as a fan. They already have that enthusiasm with them just as a fan that they've had for their entire life. Given that most of them grew up around the Athens area or grew up in the Georgia area, a lot of Miami students aren't going to have that same enthusiasm because, like I mentioned, with a lot being from outside of Florida, a lot being from the Northeast, a lot being more international, as you mentioned, it's a lot to ask for students who I'll use freshmen for example, who have only been fans for 2 months to have that electricity and that passion to be a hurricane. It's just not there. So I think that is always going to hold, I guess, Miami student body from ever becoming this
yeah.
enthusiastic sports school, which it's a shame, but it's something that is kind of hard to overcome. And I also I want to mention that the some of the organizations, the Category 5 at Miami, some of the organizations that organize the student section for football and basketball, they do a tremendous job, like absolutely tremendous. I can attest to the Eye for basketball. They did a phenomenal job last season for both men's and women's basketball. But it's just hard, given the makeup of Miami student body, to really have that strong enthusiasm.
Well, and honestly, everything you're saying, I think, does really reinforce the idea that a lot of people have in that maybe Miami does not need that nearby or on campus type stadium the way that a lot of these other schools do. Because I compare Miami a lot to USC, like very similar. Like it's not exactly the same because like USC does have a bigger student body than Miami, but they're private universities in really big cities, and like they become the teams of the cities. I mean, Luke is a youngin, so unfortunately for him, he wasn't around during the glory days of like the 80s and the 90s. So you missed a lot of good stuff, bro. You missed a lot of really good stuff. But I can remember the way that the entire city, and like it didn't matter if anyone ever set foot on campus or not. You didn't have to be a student, you didn't have to be alumnus. It would captivate the entire city. And so, listen, at the end of it for me, because I'm surprised that some of you get so worked up about the stadium stuff because I see people getting in arguments all the time. I'm cool either way. Like if they stay in Hard Rock Stadium for another 20 years, which is one of the nicer NFL facilities in the country, one of the better stadiums in North America, if they stay there for the next number of years, I can live with that. If they were to make a nearby campus stadium just for Miami football, go big or go home. Like you have to do it up right. You don't want to do it like on the cheap, kind of like, when FIU built their stadium 10, 15 years ago. Like you don't want it to be just metal bleachers. Like you have to really build something special if you're going to do it. Because if you're not going to build something really special, don't even bother. I want to get into some expectations for Miami and a couple of recruiting notes with Luke here. But I want to remind you, friends, betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting sports needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including league reviews and news, including this year's NHL finals and Major League Baseball. We just had the Golden State Warriors win the NBA title. Congratulations to them. I won some money on that. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering info, including live betting, esports, and scores. And betonline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all of your favorite sports teams and events, including MMA, boxing, even golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you guys for making Locked On Canes your first listen every day. Even on Saturdays, we are available free wherever you get your podcasts. So, Luke, I got to put you on the hot seat here because heading into the 2022 season, renewed hope, Mario Cristobal, great coaching staff, expectations with Tyler Van Dyke at quarterback. I know a lot of people just assume Clemson is going to be back this coming year. They had a very down year last year. Miami didn't win the Coastal last year. Pittsburgh got it done in the Coastal and in the ACC. Miami are favorites to at least win the Coastal this year. How do you handicap the Miami Hurricanes' chances of potentially winning the ACC this season?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the borderline expectation for Miami has to be win the Coastal, and I feel like this is the borderline expectation every season because on paper, Miami should win the Coastal every season. Every season, they should talent wise, they should win the Coastal. And that obviously has not happened. And the Coastal this year is going to be even more wide open than it usually is just because there is a lot of talent leaving, which bodes well for Miami. I mean, take Pitt, they're losing Kenny Pickett. They're also losing Jordan Addison. I think Pitt will probably be a solid team with Slovis coming in from USC. They have a strong defense. They return their I think their top two or three returning backs. So Pitt's going to be solid, but there's a lot of unknowns there. Take UNC. They're losing Sam Howell. He was a thorn in Miami's side for
Oh, yeah.
3 seasons, and you could have a redshirt freshman taking over at quarterback. Um, the only team with a returning say quarterback that I think really poses a threat is Virginia with Brennan Armstrong, who
Yep.
led the whole country in passing yards last season. But even then, with Brennan Armstrong coming back, they're losing every single starting lineman from last year.
Oh,
They're
I didn't
losing all of
realize
them.
that.
They are.
Wow.
I think they're bringing in 2 FCS transfers. It's not looking good right now for UVA aside from the QB position and with the wide receivers that they're bringing back. So there's a lot of question marks throughout the Coastal, and then you have Georgia Tech and Duke who aren't expected to do much. So just given that Miami simply has Tyler Van Dyke and a boatload of talent, they should win the Coastal, and that's my expectation for them heading into this year. The Atlantic is a different story just because there is more established talent in that side of the conference. I think NC State and Wake Forest are going to be 2 very, very good teams. I mean, you're bringing back Sam Hartman for Wake Forest. You're also bringing back an 1,000-yard receiver. I loved watching Wake Forest last year. They're probably one of the more fun teams to watch in the entire country. And then, I mean, NC State, they're bringing back a really good defense, probably bringing back the most underrated quarterback in the ACC in Devin Leary
I
because,
like the way you think. I agree completely.
I mean, because a lot of people don't realize the season that Leary had. I mean, dude had 35 touchdowns and only 5 picks. Like, that is extremely impressive. They're bringing him back. NC State's going to be a very good team. And then you have Clemson, who quite possibly could have one of the best, if not the best defense in the country next year. I mean, they had a very good defense last year, and they're bringing pretty much all of it back. I mean, obviously, the only question mark there is the quarterback position. DJ Uwe Ungalele. I always
Nailed
butcher his
it.
last.
You stuck the you eventually you got there. You got there.
I got there. I got there. We found a way there. I mean, he underperformed last year. They're also bringing competition with Klubik, I believe you pronounce his last name. But
Yes. Yeah.
if Clemson can figure out the quarterback position, just given how much talent they have on defense, and given Will Shipley, who looks to be who could be one of the best running backs in the ACC next year, they would probably be my favorite. But again, we don't know what's going to happen with the quarterback position. If they struggle like they did last year at that position, then the ACC is completely up for grabs as it was a year ago. So, I mean, I think we're just going back to Miami. The Coastal, that's the bare minimum. You have to win the Coastal. And then we'll see what happens in the Atlantic. I mean, there's no standalone team that I guess has me super worried. So we'll see how the season comes along. But I mean, the ACC is doable for Miami, which feels good.
Yeah, and listen, they've hit it out of the park with so many of the transfers that they brought in, which obviously would have a bigger immediate impact than a good recruiting class that they brought in. And we're always covering recruiting here on Locked On Canes, and it's funny. So yesterday, we covered a ton of potential commits with John Garcia Jr. from Sports Illustrated. One player we didn't cover because his official visit had not been announced yet is Jaden Wayne, Tacoma, Washington edge rusher. So if he does end up at Miami, he'll be very traveled. He sent out the little video of him on the plane. It's like a 6-hour plane ride from Tacoma. I've been to Seattle before. He's a 4-star edge rusher, number 6 edge rusher in the entire country for the class of 2023, number 1 in the state of Washington. Are you hearing some optimistic vibes for Jaden Wayne? Because I'm starting to get a little bit excited here.
Yeah, so I mean, Jaden Wayne is taking that cross country trip back to Coral Gables. I think he landed today. I mean,
Yeah.
that's insane, and the reason why Miami is really being considered heavily in the first place is due to Mario Cristobal and the relationship that Cristobal is able to build with Wayne up in the Northwest. Because I wrote like a quick write up yesterday about Wayne, and I found out that Cristobal was the first coach to give him an offer in July 2019. So this was Wayne going into his freshman year.
Wow.
So Cristobal pulled the trigger early. The coaching staff obviously thinks very highly of him. Miami offered him under the Manny Diaz coaching staff, and Cristobal reignited this relationship when he got to Miami. Wayne took an unofficial visit, I think January 21st. He then attended Miami's junior day on the 22nd of January, and now he's back in Coral Gables for his first official visit. So we'll see how that goes. He is one of the most elite edge rushers in this entire class. If Miami can grab him, that would be huge. And I mean, some of the players in this is the main player for Wayne right now is also Oregon. They're recruiting him heavily. Obviously, he's more local to the Oregon area, and he actually has an official visit up in Eugene for next weekend. So we'll see how that transpires. But I mean, Miami is definitely a player here, and if they can acquire Wayne, who really broke out in his junior year, I think he had like 9 sacks. He played very well his junior season, so he's a riser. And if Miami's able to grab him, that would be absolutely huge for the class.
That's great. There were some good nuggets in there I didn't know about, like Cristobal offering him after 8th grade. You see that happen every now and then, and that's the sign of a good recruiter. Like Nick Saban does that a lot. And obviously, not only is Saban an excellent recruiter, he's got a staff of like millions helping him recruit, which Mario does kind of now. But when you can identify talent in somebody who's not even in high school yet, and then they end up 3 years later, they're a 4-star, 5-star. That's always incredible. That's great stuff. So another thing I wanted to get your take on, and let me also offer a little word of wisdom, a PSA to our listeners and viewers. If you create a fake Twitter profile or a fake Twitter name to pretend to be a recruit in high school, you need to find a hobby or you need to find a job. Like it's just some of the most disturbing behavior. So Jaden Rashada, he would have been actually announcing today had he not decided to push back his announcement from the 18th to the 26th as to where he's going to be taking his talents as a true freshman. As a 4-star quarterback, 5-star, depending on which publication you look at, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And I had, up until a couple days ago, I had believed that Miami was basically out of it for Rashada because he didn't take an official visit here and wasn't going to have one by Saturday. But with him actually deciding to move back his announcement a week and a day, maybe Miami is a shot. The last place he has visited officially is the University of Florida. And the Gator fans and the Seminole fans, they're getting a little bit scared about what Miami's building down here. And there was some Gator bro who changed his Twitter name to Jaden Rashada, pretended to be him, and talked about, I'm making an official visit to Miami. He was exposed as a fraud and as a Gator fan. And I think he deleted the tweet, probably deleted his entire account, his entire existence. So do not be that guy who pretends to be a high school kid on Twitter. There are better ways to spend your time. But, Luke, I've got to think that Jaden Rashada postponing his recruitment by 8 days, I'm not going to call Miami the favorite necessarily, but that's got to be a good thing for Miami, because if he was sick, because a lot of people thought he was going to end up, and he maybe still will, but a lot of people thought, oh, he's going to Florida. But if he had his mind made up, he's going to Florida, he's not going to extend his announcement. Like, I think he's still making up his mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean the postponement of his commitment. I mean, it bodes well for Miami. I mean, it has to. I mean, he's looked more and more like a Florida lean, especially with the last visit that he took. There's been rumored to it's been rumored that there's a lot of NIL money on the line at UF, and it's looked like you said that he was going to end up committing to UF, but with this postponement, it gives Miami some time to really make a last push, and we'll see where or if and where he takes that last visit. If he does end up taking it to Miami, that looks pretty good, for Miami. So we'll end up seeing what happens in the next few days if he takes that last visit. I mean, if I were to make a prediction right now, I'd still lean on the side of UF just because there's a lot of unknowns with Miami. I still can't believe that guy. I mean, I saw that literally when I was on my way home today. That whole thing with the guy who made a fake, like who makes a fake Twitter account of a high
Crazy.
schooler of like a 17-year-old? Like it's weird. Whatever. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see in the next coming days if Miami can make that last push for Jaden Rashada. I mean, Miami is in for me. I mean, it's not Rashada or nothing for Miami. I mean, Miami has Emory Williams visiting this weekend. The staff absolutely loves him. He's someone who is a 3-star quarterback. I think he's in the 800s in the national rankings, but a lot of people have him way higher than that.
He's gonna rise, because
Oh
the thing about Emory Williams was he got discovered really late, and I think it's
yeah,
because like he lives in the middle of nowhere in the Panhandle. But like when he got discovered, he's been blowing up now in recent weeks.
yeah. I mean, he's someone he's going to continue to rise throughout his senior year, and he's someone that, like I said, the Miami staff really loves. And then the case is not closed for Dante Moore either. We'll see what happens with that. So Miami has options aside from Rashada. If Rashada ends up committing to, let's say, Florida, it's not the end of the day for the Canes, but obviously if Miami are able to acquire a quarterback like Jaden Rashada, who you mentioned, depending on the publication that you see him on, he's a 5-star, 4-star. He would be the highest rated quarterback prospect to pick Miami since
Kyle Wright, probably.
Kyle Wright. That's a
Back in
name.
my day. Back in my
Yeah, yeah. And so I mean, it's been a minute since Miami has been able to acquire a 5-star quarterback. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't do that every day. So like I said, we'll see what happens in this late push. But like if Miami's able to lock down that visit, all bets are off. We'll see.
Well, I like the perspective. I want everyone, make sure you follow Luke on Twitter at Luke_Cheney4. Check out his work in the brand new All Hurricanes site, part of Sports Illustrated. He also calls some games on WVUM. I'm an alum of WVUM back in the day. Those are the good old days. Hey, guys, I want you to let us know in the comments, because I thought Luke brought some good perspective, because he's a current member of the student body at Miami, and he brought some good perspective on the whole stadium debate. And actually, he got me thinking, man, like even having a nearby campus stadium, it's less important to a school like Miami than it is to the schools located in college towns. So I think Luke, I don't even know if he did it on purpose, but he's like swaying me maybe more into the side of your own stadium is not necessary. he's distancing himself from my remarks, which is great.
No, it's for for the community of Miami, it would matter more to the community of Miami than it would to the students.
Okay,
That's
that's fair.
that's
That's
the
fair.
that's my concluding statement on that.
I like it.
I'm more indifferent if anything. I'm probably more on your side of things when it comes to all that stuff.
I hear you. So let us know if you want to drop us a tweet. You can tweet the show day and night at Locked On Canes. And if you follow us, we will follow you back, by the way. Tweet us your opinions. Are you indifferent on it? Very few people are indifferent on this. Do you want Miami to have their own football stadium? Do you want them to stay put at Hard Rock? You can also drop us YouTube comments as well. Luke, thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you for having me, man. I love being on.
Oh, awesome stuff. Hey, guys, make sure you check out betonline.net. You check out the entire network here because the Locked On Podcast Network, whatever team you root for. And for the South Floridians out there, Locked On Dolphins is awesome. Locked On Heat, Locked On Panthers, all incredible, incredible shows. So we will talk to you guys again on Monday on another episode of Locked On Canes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.